What are some qualities that you think are important for successful engineers?
Well, for one thing, you should. I look back to my own life and I say, an engineer. There's different types of engineers. That's a problem. I grew up early on in electronics. Electronics is called the analog world. Mathematics. You have parts that obey mathematical rules and you hook them together a certain way. Computers is totally different. No math at all. You just hook things together that logically do the right things. They follow sets of rules. And it's a very different world. Um, as far as engineering, whatever you do, try to find ways to make yourself better than anyone else in the world, because that's what I tried to do in my designs. They were on pencil and paper. And keep working at something on your own for fun that has no value, because that's where you're going to do the most learning. Don't expect to get the learning you will need in school, even in the university. Don't expect to be a great engineer, to be one of the very top ones that has different ideas than other people have. School often teaches you to keep doing the same thing as everyone else, because then you get a good grade. And that actually fights creativity. Um, a lot of people, if you're going to be a great engineer, your work might be the greatest in the world, and it doesn't do anyone any good unless it gets into their hands, unless it becomes a product. And you need a company, and companies have to sell things and they have to make money and live. So it's very important, even if you're not a businessman, find someone who is. A startup company, to make your product real, needs three elements: a businessman who wants to sell things to other people to get it into their hands, an engineer who's good at designing things that only engineers can design, and you need somebody who understands, why would somebody buy this product? Why would somebody want it? And you should not. I always say, you should not think, what would other people in the world like? I'm going to build it. That's a bad way to start. You should be the person who wants it. If you want certain things in your own life, maybe it's just a listing of local movies or something. You should build it for yourself, and it will come out excellent.
How were electronics back when you were a child different to electronics today? And do you think that the next hardware genius is among us that can create the next great hardware company like Apple?
When I was young, electronics was analog mathematics. You had to go out through college level mathematics, calculus, and be able to design circuits with parts that obeyed very few rules. They could not do anything close to what we have today. The television sets, you had to actually turn a dial to get the colors right. They weren't necessarily right. Today you just turn on a TV and it's there. And now we have digital TV, so it's even less different. And there's kind of no mistakes with the digital world. So today everything is digital. The great digital engineers, it's less being a great engineer and more having an idea for a product that the world really needs. Even if nobody thinks it does, and even if you don't think they need it, you're doing it for fun. Whatever your reason, that's called out of the box thinking. You'll make something. Everybody else is making some obvious things that everyone can see there's a need for, and you come up with, oh my gosh, here's a totally different thing that does the same job better, or it costs less money. And always be focused on the fact that to be great, something has to cost less than the guy who isn't as great as a designer.
What are your thoughts on standardized testing in schools?
Well, I, I always think of schools as having characteristics that teach us not to be creative, not to explore, because we're born young, wanting to learn the world and touch everything there is. We go into kindergarten and we want to open the drawers and know what's inside of them, but we're not allowed to. So it starts saying you have to behave a certain way, you have to follow the same rules as everyone else. I don't really have any strong thoughts on it because I'm not issuing standardized tests. I have a lot of thoughts about how school is run today, and I don't think standardized testing gets in the way of that too much. I do believe that if somebody has trouble as a student, that they should be allowed to repeat for the work that they have missed. There should be something built into the system to let them come back. Sometimes you're just told, here's your grade, it's all over. You say, no, I want to be an A student. I don't even want to be. I don't want to see, can I redo this paper? And they say, no, you can't. And the reason is money. The state puts the money into schools, and the state says, sorry, we'll give you this much money per student for a whole year, and whatever you finished, we don't have any money to let them spend extra time. So they can't pay the teacher. A teacher says, we are going to do these pages in the book on Monday, these pages on Tuesday, these pages on Wednesday, and the test will be on Friday. And let's say a student gets really excited about one subject, math, and they want to explore it and take it further, read deeper in the book, and they want to buy other math courses and go online and learn it all. They can't because they have to do all the homework for all the other subjects to pass the test on Friday, and that's a problem. The trouble is the problem orients with money also. One teacher teaching 30 students, and a teacher would rather teach 30 students than 20. Can you guess why? The teacher would do better with 20 students. You'll be a better education with 20 students and worse with 30. The teacher gets paid more money to teach 30. Sorry, the world's about money. I hope someday, if you have a good teacher or you're self-taught, maybe at home, a good teacher you could never fail to learn. A good teacher will never fail if it's one-on-one, one teacher, one student. But if you have one teacher and 30 students, some are always going to miss out. By the time you're 8 years old, that's when an awful lot of the kids start deciding learning's not important in my life because I'm not one of the best. And how do they know they're not the best? Testing. Their grades aren't as good. Sometimes some students have all the answers right away, but also on the test they say, well, I'm not very good, so it's not going to be an important part of my life. They give up at 8 years old. Ask any teacher. We've got to solve that somehow. And I was hoping that computers would make a difference. They haven't made a difference yet into how many people drop out of school and how many people get lousy grades and how many people think for themselves. It hasn't made a difference.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that someday computers will be like one low-cost teacher per student.
What are your thoughts on the effect of social media in minors?
I'm not an expert on social media. I don't even know, can't even tell you how to go in and use Facebook well or Twitter at all. Because the trouble is, a person like me, I'm not out trying to promote myself. Sometimes rock musicians and actors have to promote themselves, so they go on Twitter and they release little bits of information like, I'll publish this to the world, because they have to keep their fans going. I don't even want to do that. I only publish where I am so my wife will see where I am. And I have 5,000 Facebook friends that I don't know. And who knows how many followers So if you don't know, that means, am I going to go in and watch what 5,000 people are posting every day? You think I have time for that? So I see very, very little of it. There's some people when I scan through, I see they post an awful lot. I see them more than others. So I'm not an expert on social media. I think that Facebook has really taken over a lot of people's lives, though. Over the old days, we had email. And I'm still almost partly in the email world. I can email people. At least when they comment on Facebook or message me, I get it. I have it emailed to me, so I see it. And then I can go into Facebook to answer. But the social web is just the way people communicate. In the old days, if we were in a room, you could always make friends with the people who are around you, like in your classroom.
Yeah.
The physical people, face to face. Well, now we've got our phones and we've got our tablets and we're interfacing with people, computers, any part of the world. And what you want to do is find people. Everyone, when they're young, wants to find people that think the way they think, that are like them, that have the same experiences. Some people you get along with, some you don't. So some become friends and some not. But you're finding that you've got access to millions and millions of people, billions in the world now, and you're going to find your best friends out there just as easily. So the social media has really changed life. I'd probably say more than even things like third-party apps that you can run an app to get Uber for a taxi ride, or run an app and find where the movie is, or run an app and check into your airplane flight, or buy a ticket.
What college did you go to, and do you think that people place too much importance on what university they attend?
Okay, I went to many colleges. The first year I had all the top testing scores for college. It's called 800s on the SATs and every math and science, and I could design any computer in the world in 2 days. And people would say, you should go to a school like MIT.
Yeah.
And I flew out with some friends, my first time ever out of California. We flew to Colorado to visit the University of Colorado in Boulder, and it snowed that night. And my heart was taken. My heart, my emotions, that was the only school I would apply to. Extremely expensive for someone from California to go to Colorado University. Second most expensive in the country. My parents said they could only afford 1 year there, not even 2 years. And they let me follow my heart. They didn't force me to go to any other schools. After that 1 year that they could afford, I went to a year at a local college, and for which is almost free. I live at home, and the next year I worked to earn the money so that I could pay my own way to a 4-year university, which was the University of California, Berkeley, which is rated as the top public university now. And after that year of college, I took another year off to work. We had Apple successes and everything, but eventually, I did take a few courses at another school called San Jose State, and some local community colleges. West Valley, we're near where I live, West Valley College. But I eventually went back to Berkeley for my final year, and I earned my real degree. Real proud of that. Yeah. So those were the colleges I went to. But is it important what college you go to? I decided, because of my own experience, I had the most unbelievable time my first year of college. You know, you're thinking for yourself. I'm buying computer manuals in the bookstore. It's snowing. I'm learning how to ski. Such a wonderful time in my life. And yet it wasn't the top college that people would have said I should have gone to. So when it came to my own children, I said, I am not going to put my values on them and tell them, you should go here, you should do this in life. I would not do that. I let them be free and discover for themselves, because then they're doing what they love and what their passion is. And my daughter, for example, was accepted. She was a top athlete, so she was accepted to a bunch of Ivy League schools and athletic schools like Florida. And then she was across the country. This was her order. And then the Northern California schools were down the list, and the lowest on her list were the Southern California colleges. And I looked at her and I said, college is the most fun 4 years of your life, and you're going to learn as much no matter where you go. It's in you, not in the school. You have the same books, you have the same teachers. And if you direct yourself, you're going to learn as much academically, but it's the most fun 4 years of your life, so you should be around people who are like you, that you'll have fun with. And I looked at her and I said, I'm surprised your Southern California schools are at the bottom of the list, because your personality is like Southern California. And 1 week later, she chose UCLA, and it was the right decision in her life. So I'm very delighted by that. But that's how I think about it. I would just if a student wants to go a certain place, try to help them get there if they can.